Hello, my name is Armando Martinez. I am a music educator, a music therapist, and a local artist. And this is Una Plática. I grew up in a musical, artistic family. So all the way from my grandmother, my sister, my brother, my mom, everybody always either drawing or making music. Of course, I went to elementary. I always had art classes. Junior high, I had a really good art teacher, Mr. Gonzalez, Al Gonzalez. And in high school, I had another art teacher. His name was Mr. Art Garcia. And they were all really good art teachers. In college, I decided to go into the field of music. And I was torn between doing art and doing music. And I just chose music because I fell in love with la guitarra. I used to love classical guitar, and I still do. But I always missed doing art. My grandmother used to teach us how to draw on the dirt. We used to go to the beach, and she would teach us how to draw with a finger on the sand. So art was always around. My brother was always sketching. My mom was always drawing. I never really got into painting at that age. But when I when I graduated college, I made the move over to San Antonio. And shortly after moving here, I started making music in different bars, different clubs. And in one of those bars, there was this one artist that was always there. Her name is Shally Brady, or is Shally Brady. She's a retired art teacher from Houston, Texas. And I always found it really curious that somebody would be drawing or painting in a bar. It's like, who does that? So I always thought it was kind of, cheesy that she would do that. But when I would take breaks, when I was playing music, and I would go observe her, I would just stand there watching her paint. And it reminded me of when I used to do art when I was younger. And one day she came up to me and she said, I'm sponsoring an art competition. A beer company is sponsoring me. And I brought you an easel and some canvases. And she had canvases set up all over the bar. And it was a competition. And the competition was, you can draw anything you want to draw or paint anything you want to paint, but in the middle of the painting or somewhere in the painting, there's got to be a beer bottle of PBR. So earlier in the day, I asked her, what should I paint? And she goes, well, what inspires you? And what do you like? And I said, well, earlier today I was watching a show about ancient aliens, and they were talking about who built the pyramids. And of course, if you ever seen the show Ancient Aliens, it's always about the solution, the answer to everything is, it was aliens. So every show is about the same answer, always. So I took it upon myself to draw a pyramid. And in fact, I drew several pyramids. And in the sky, I drew a UFO with an alien saying peace and drinking a beer, a PBR beer, and just happened to I got third place in the competition. So I got a bunch of canvases, I got a bunch of brushes, and a lot of paints. So that was my reintroduction to making art at that point. This was like 3 years before COVID. Well, let me see. I'm a Chicano by birth, I guess you can say, Mexican-American. I was never really part of the El Movimiento, as they say. My art is not typical Chicano art, but I would consider myself to be a Chicano artist simply because I am a Chicano, right? So yeah, I would say yes. Yes, I love Centro Cultural. Anybody that accepts a person like me is okay with me. And so I think of places like this, museums and galleries, almost as sacred as churches, because it's a place where people can create and express themselves. I grew up in a very religious environment. It's in my house. My grandmother would always say stuff like, music is the voice of God, because God created all of us through love and through the frequency of love. In fact, she would even quote the Bible. She would say, when Moses walked up to the mountain, when God spoke to Moses, he spoke to him and his voice was music, sound, frequency. So I've always associated art and music with the creation, and the closest that I think artists and musicians are the closest to God, because God speaks through all of us, right? You're art, I am art. And so when we create, we're in a way, we find the peace of God inside of all of us that helps us to create. My favorite, I like all of them, but my favorite one has to be Dia de los Muertos, because I always feel like I've never participated in that one particular, but I always love to see the altars, and it's always good to remind ourselves that we're all gonna go that route eventually, right? My sister Berta Clementina just recently passed away, so I'm planning on doing something for her as a tribute to this upcoming Dia de los Muertos event. So I would say that would be my favorite one. I love the, what do they call those, sugar skulls? The painted faces with the skulls. That's one of my favorite things right there. I think it's so, rock and roll, when it comes to art and combining art. So I would say, yeah, Dia de los Muertos is my favorite. Well, to me, art has always been a question. To me, art is an expression, right? In fact, I was influenced by Frank Zappa many years ago. I don't remember what show I was watching. Frank Zappa was getting interviewed, and he was talking how, he goes, I can take this ashtray, and I could arrange the ashes on this ashtray, and I could arrange the cigarettes on this ashtray and call it art. He goes, you might not like it, but to me, it's an expression, it's an art form. So when I create art, I try to really listen to my inner voice. Usually I stare at the canvas for, few minutes, many minutes sometimes, until I start seeing the image that I have in my mind on the canvas. And then I paint it. And sometimes it almost feels like what they call automatic writing. I can actually just almost like take a step outside of my body. It's like observing, it's like an out-of-body experience almost. And so you allow the energy of the muse, as they say, to move through you. So with my art, I would like to express, I allow the expression of the muse to come through me and move it, and maybe a message will touch somebody's heart or make them think, show them a different perspective. I'm not really good at business. I've never been good at business. With my music, also when I recorded my CDs, I've never been good in that. Word of mouth is really good. I would say take your time, find your voice, as they say. Don't try to imitate anybody else. I forget who said this. Was it Dali? Somebody said this. If you don't steal from other artists, you're not really an artist. But you have to flip it and reverse it and make it yourself. Make it your own. Find your own voice. Take your time, right? I discovered that myself just recently because like during COVID, for example, there was nothing to do. So I would spend hours. Sometimes I would do 18 hours of drawing. Sometimes I would spend 3 days of just painting and sketching, and just getting lost in your art is really important. Meditation. It's very spiritual. To me, music is similar, but in music, when you practice the piano or the guitar, your fingers eventually get tired. But with art, one small little stroke of the brush, one change of a color, can change the whole idea of the painting. And you have to learn how to listen to the art, because art speaks to you, not in a way that you hear voices, right? But you see, you look at the art, you study it, you analyze it, and then you said, I can try this right here. So I would really encourage artists, young artists, to find their voice.